So I've had a couple people email me, a few people slide into the DMs. Thank you for that. It means you're watching the show. But they've all asked the same question. Hey, Cole, why have you not unveiled your way too early top 10 rankings? And I didn't respond. And I wasn't trying to be rude. I'm just going to be honest here. I wait to the last minute. I'm somebody that wants to have all their ducks in a row and hear the fat lady sing before jumping to any conclusions, because at the drop of a hat, college football will drastically change. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happened since the national championship. Nick Saban retired. Kalen DeBoer left Washington. Jed Fish is now running the show in Seattle, which means Brent Brennan's coming back to Arizona. You've had constant changes with other coaching searches simply because they've taken coordinator jobs. Oh, and we have no idea what's happening with Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor. So a lot of things have occurred since Michigan claimed its first title in over 2 decades, and I want to wait until the last minute. I think now's a pretty good time since the dust has settled and we kind of have a good inclination of where things stand. Who are my top 10 teams going into 2024? But I'm going to go a step further because we are expanding to 12 teams in the college football playoff. I'm going to go ahead and list my top 12 teams moving forward. And I won't do the whole long intro. If you're new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. But if you do like this type of content, make sure that you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts. Who was I too high on? Who was I too low on? Who do you want to see actually make it to the CFP in 2024? Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, and college football faithful everywhere about this channel, because we are on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football daily, and we're going to get there. So jump on in while the water's fine. Continue to follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. Okay, so 12 teams are going to go to the playoff next year, and it's not going to be the 12 right teams. It's going to be the 12 teams that either got hot at the right moment or won their conference title, a bunch of other nonsense. Who cares? That's not what this list is. I'm not saying these are the top 12 teams that are going to make the playoff. These are my top 12 teams going into next season. And like I do for my top 10s, I'm going to give you honorable mentions. So the honorable mentions for me right now, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida State. Let's go work in backward order. Florida State has returned an ample amount of talent, and this is the one team that I think could move into the top 12 after spring practice. I really want to know what DJU is going to look like in this offense led by Mike Norvell. I want to know how they're going to be able to replace production like Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and Jaheim Bell. But the one thing that we know, a team like Florida State, they're able to use the transfer portal in their favor, and they always get exceptional talent. 13 of their 14 players added were from Power 5 schools, and all of them have at least some bit of experience. So Mike Norvell is still cooking down in Tallahassee. He just isn't right now for me a top 12 team. The same thing goes for Oklahoma. Oklahoma, I think, could move up this ranking, but right now, too many questions when it comes to the quarterback position. You have a brand new coordinator leading the charge because Jeff Lebby is calling the shots down in Starkville. You did lose some players to the transfer portal. You kept some veterans for that defense. That is going to be your bread and butter next year in the SEC. But until I see a little bit more Jackson Arnold, I'm not going to go ahead and differ on my opinion. They're a team on the outside looking in. The same thing goes for Tennessee. They did a really nice job this past week in the transfer portal, adding in Lance Hurd from LSU. That's a plug-and-play offensive tackle. And Nico Iamaleava strutted his stuff in the bowl game against Iowa. But it was a bowl game. Every season is completely different, and we do not fall for bowl syndrome on this channel. Until I see it during the regular season, I have to be a little cautious. But they do have an offense that is going to be high tempo. Josh Heupel knows how to get the best version of his quarterbacks out week in and week out, so I'm not worried about that front. They still have a decent run game. They still have some good veteran wide receivers like Brew McCoy coming back in. And I do think that they will be able to compete for an SEC championship. This is a team that's not a dark horse to make the college football playoff, maybe just not the favorites to win their division. And LSU kind of goes in the same category. Back-to-back 10-win seasons underneath Brian Kelly. Not to mention they've also done a really nice job adding in outside names that most people haven't heard of. CJ Daniels, remember this wide receiver? Last season was the #1 group of 5 pass catcher, over 1,300 yards, and was impeccable with his route running for Liberty. Now coming down to the Swamps, he's going to replace Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. I do think that there is something there with Garrett Nussmeier. A lot of upside with this LSU team. I don't know what the offense is going to look like. I love Blake Baker. I know he's going to be a good fit for this team, and they're going to have some noise. And defensively, they will be better because of it. but you wasted an offensive firepower that was last season. I'm just a little hesitant not knowing how you're going to replace Mike Denbrock. You do have two coordinators on staff, and they do have a relationship with Garrett Nussmeier and maybe even AJ Swan. I just got to see it unfold a little bit more. But those are my honorable mentions. Number 12, Arizona. Arizona got the best news possible when T-Mac and Noah Fafita said, hey, Brent Brennan, we are loyal to the Wildcats. We are here for the long haul. We're not going anyplace anytime soon. We're not going to join Jed Fish. We want to bring something here to Tucson. So that's a 1-2 combination that's automatically going to work. Everyone knows what McMillan did last year. Over 1,200 receiving yards. Number 2 in the Pac-12 in receiving yard total. This is a team that I think is going to have a ton of success now in the Big 12. They have the quarterback. He's going to be a Heisman favorite. I'm telling you guys right now. Put money, put sums, do whatever you have to on Noah Fafita over exceeding expectations. And now what you look at with this defense, top 40 unit last year. Yes, you lose some pieces. You lost somebody to go to Texas of Johnny Nason. You also lost a defensive back, but you still have Jacob Manu. You still have 3 of your 5 main tacklers from last season returning. And the transfer portal give it, but the transfer portal take it. And so you're going to be taking some players that currently are looking for their next destination, like the San Jose State running back that averaged the same amount of yards as Jonah Coleman, or the linebacker that was an all Mountain West player. I think that you know where they're probably going. Arizona's going to be in good hands next year. They should be viewed as a front runner to win the Big 12. And I will be shocked if Brent Brennan is not at least having a conversation with his players going into the month of November, what this team could be with the college football playoff. Number 11, Utah. Utah people are sleeping on, and I'm tired of hearing it. Utah is the most well-run college football program that doesn't get enough attention at the national stage. They have a veteran coach that every year you can expect the exact same results. They have a stellar defense that every year ranks inside the top 30. Their offense is fundamentally sound. You don't see a lot of charge and error with this team. Oh, and Cam Rising decided to go ahead and get his MD in football, and now he's going back to get his super MD in football because it's the 7th season. So you get a veteran quarterback. You also brought in a very under-the-radar receiver that isn't going to garner enough attention because of his numbers this past year. Dorian Singer is headed up to Salt Lake City. This is a good move for the offense. And now you get a veteran quarterback. You know what your defense is, and you're going to a brand new conference where the competition maybe not at the same level as the Pac-12 once was. Maybe it's at good levels, but not at the one that can go toe-to-toe with Kyle Whittingham, the most underrated coach in college football, and has been for a hot minute. If you watch any of my videos, you know how I feel about a guy like Kyle Whittingham. I believe Utah right now is the favorites in the Big 12, and I don't think many people want to play them going into November. I'm telling you guys, this is a very sound roster, top to bottom. And death, taxes, Kyle Whittingham getting to 9+ wins, those are all things that are going to happen. Number 10, Penn State. Penn State, to me, should be a little higher, but I just have this gut feeling like every single year. 10-2, 10-2, 10-2. The college football playoff is a beauty for a school like Penn State because we know what they are. They're going to get the wins over the bad teams. They're going to get the wins over the qualified Tier 3 teams, and they're going to sit at Tier 2 by themselves as Michigan and Ohio State go, hi, little brother, good to see you. Well, they want to join that Tier 1 roster because now there's new teams joining the program, and they don't want to be sitting at Tier 2 anymore. They brought in a new OC in Andy Kolonicki. This is a really smart move when it comes to the quarterback position, and I do think that it is a major upgrade over Mike Yurich. They did bring in a new defensive coordinator because Manny Diaz is gone, and a lot of people are soured by Tom Allen. You shouldn't be. The man knows defense like the back of his hand. Veteran quarterback coming back in, 1-2 combination of Drew Aller, Katron Allen, and Nick Singleton. So I guess 1-2-3. Brought over Julian Fleming via the transfer portal. At one point, number 1 wide receiver in the portal. So you knew that he was also the number 1 wide receiver prospect. A lot of upside here. This is a team that I don't think is going to win the Big Ten. But just because you don't win the Big Ten anymore does not mean you can't make the college football playoff. 12 teams are going, and then the conference like the Big Ten, which is basically SEC light, you get to 10 wins, you basically can go ahead and say, okay, we're going to be either number 7 seed, number 9 seed, number 11 seed, number 12 seed. We're in the playoff. All bets are off. We're good. Number 9, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is more so to me a proof of concept and intrigue because I do look at this roster and I think that there are some moves that need to be made before the start of next season. And the entire spring, we'll find out a little bit more information, but I do think that the Irish have the answer at quarterback. Riley Leonard is a good athlete. He's a hyper aggressive athlete. He can utilize his legs. He's got decent arm strength. There's a lot of things that you like about his game. And the thing that's really going to benefit him is he's working with Mike Denbrock. Who did Mike Denbrock work with last year, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, I'm so glad that you asked. Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels, that's going to be a top 5 pick in this year's draft, and also broke records when he was in Baton Rouge. I think he's done some pretty good things. So imagine if that offense that catered to a guy like Jaden Daniels, mobile, super aggressive, decent arm strength, kind of see the picture here? Translate to Riley Leonard. And they still have some good receivers in the room. They brought over another tight end. They also still have a very veteran offensive line. And Marcus Freeman's recruiting out of his ass when it comes to defense. This is a team that last year I was a little bit higher on than most. I had them going 10-2, missing out on the playoff, but going to a New Year's Six game. I think this is a year where we are looking at them potentially 10-2, maybe even 11-1. And 11-1 is probably what you need for the Fighting Irish to get to the college football playoff. Case in point, they're an independent roster. They don't get to play for a conference championship. And the message internally is not about winning your conference. For Marcus Freeman's roster, it's all about winning the title. And they have at least a roster that can compete for one. Number 8, Missouri. Missouri is this team that I think a lot of people are going to be a little high on. And I'm okay being in that category because you want to know why? They've earned it. They've earned the right to be able to say whatever the hell they want because of the way they played down the stretch. Going 5-1, only loss coming to Georgia. Honestly, outside of the Alabama game, that was Georgia's toughest test, and they have most of the talent returning. Brady Cook, he's going to be cooking it up again next season. You have Luther Burden. That's your Fred Biletnikoff favorite going into the next year. The best number 2 in college football, in my opinion, in Theo Wease. A veteran offensive line. You lose Cody Schrader, but you bring over Marcus Carroll from Georgia State. Go look at his film, people. His highlights are incredible. And you also added in a couple of defensive players like Toriano Pride from Clemson. And you also brought in another defensive lineman and Caden Green for the offensive tackle spot. Eli Drinkwitz is basically saying, hey, we may not be the favorites in the SEC, but you're going to go ahead and give a lot of credit to Penn State for finishing in 3rd place. Why not give us some credit too? And once we get into the playoff, nobody wants to face us. If you look back last season and you were to go ahead and field phone calls from, I would say, 200 coaches, I would probably bet 20% of them would say the one team I don't want to face going into the postseason of a 12-team playoff is Missouri. They're good. They're fundamentally sound. They feel like that they're on the come up, and this does not feel like a one-and-done type roster. A lot of potential still in Columbia, Missouri. And Eli Drinkwitz, he got the contract that he deserved. 7, Alabama. This is why I waited. Because at the start, I would have pegged Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide as a top 5 team. What you're returning offensively in talent, what you are bringing in with the top 2 recruiting class, what you are bringing in with yet another young up-and-coming names, you were going to be fine. But Saban retired. He's done. It's over. End of a dynasty. But that does not mean Kalen DeBoer, his new coaching staff, headlined by Kane Womack and Ryan Grubb, can't get the best version out of this team. So many people pay attention to just what is being shown on the field, and they don't look a little deeper, which is sometimes a bit of a problem. You know that Alabama's recruiting class over the last 5 years has been ranked number 1 or number 2. Not number 3, not number 7, not number 14, not like Auburn at 19, not like Ole Miss at 22. No, it's been number 1 or number 2. That's it. That's what you have on your roster still. And you added in some players. Jeremy Bernard, he was always going to be a name that I think was mentioned in Tuscaloosa. You still could land a kid like Jabbar Muhammad in the transfer portal. These are moves that could fortify your roster and just keep you in the hunt. And if you're, again, 10 wins, SEC, big, bold brand conference, guess what? It just means more. It means more chances for you to go to the playoff. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide. I'm just not going to put them inside my top 5. Number 6, this is a shocker, but I have to. Michigan. I like the Wolverines. I think that they're a good team, and I think that the culture that has been implemented there will be long-standing after Jim Harbaugh says a sweet farewell and goes to the NFL. But how do you keep this roster intact? Well, you got to hire Sharon Moore. That's number 1. Number 2, you got to preach that this team is not going to lose anything just because its coach is gone. You also have to bank on younger players stepping up and being veterans, whether that be Mason Graham, whether that be Donovan Edwards, whether that be Colson Loveland. They're not going anywhere. And that's why I am still high on the Wolverines. Maybe not as the front runners to win the college football playoff, but still make it still probably go to Indianapolis, and still have a shot at claiming a conference title. They have all that at their disposal. I wonder about the quarterback position, and I'm allowed to wonder about the quarterback position. Do you feel comfortable with Alex Orji running the show? Do you got to go in the transfer portal on the second wave? Do you feel like that what's currently on staff isn't leaving anytime soon, especially amid a Jim Harbaugh replacement? Because they committed to Jim. They didn't commit to Sharon. They like Sharon. Doesn't mean that you have to go ahead and be along with him. It's like when you go out with your buddies and it's like the one dude brings their friend. He's cool. You're okay hanging out with him. He always just want to pay for a round of beer. But you're not going to go phone him up and say, hey, Derek, let's go out and have a couple brewskis without Lance. We're going to be fine. No, that doesn't happen. So this roster, what occurs is really going to, I think, set the precipice of what we know about this team. But again, top 15 defense is going to be there next year. You know you're going to have an offense that is headlined by your line play, trenches, and your running back room. You still have a veteran tight end, Colson Loveland, who might end up being actually the best player at the position next season in the conference. So there's a lot of positivity still in Ann Arbor, even if you are to lose Jim Harbaugh. Now time for the top five. Number 5, Ole Miss. What they've basically done is played their hand for the last 3 years. And it's like going at a poker table and you're winning a lot of games and you're going ahead and you're claiming some money and the banker breaks and you're good. You're playing well. You've gotten in some sums. You're cashing out. One more hand. That's what this feels like. Jackson Dart's returning. Trey Harris is returning. Caden Priestcorn is returning. Jordan Watkins is returning. Jared Ivey is returning. JJ Pegas is returning. Most of your offensive line is returning. Pete Golden's been working the transfer portal like a shady pharmacist. He's been doing everything. Everything has been working for this team. And they've built now the trenches. That is a key element that I think separates them from everybody else. Lane Kiffin has said on multiple occasions, we want to compete with Georgia. We want to compete with Bama. We got to win from within. Well, you're winning from within with Princey Manley Ellen. You're winning from within with Walter Nolan. You're winning from within with Chris Paul coming up the middle, shooting like a bullet out of a gun. Linebacker, you got that. Oh, offensively, you also added in Juice Wells to replace Dayton Wade. That should be fine. You also replaced Logan Diggs for Quinshon Judkins. That should be fine. And you don't lose your head coach. 10-2 is going to be the expectation moving forward every season in Oxford. And well, it should. 11-1 should be actually the expectation moving forward in Oxford. And well, he's earned that right. Kiffin's done more work with less over the last several seasons, and now his fruits of the labors are leading to him pushing all the chips into the pile and say, hit me. They want to win it all this year, and they can. This is a roster that, if you look top to bottom, has the ability to own everything that we know about the SEC and make it down to Atlanta. But so is the number 4 team, Texas. Texas, wash, rinse, repeat. New conference, same mentality. That's the way that Steve Sarkisian likes it. And here's the good news. When you look at the Texas roster, it's a lot of the same, and the new pieces coming in, you can even say are somewhat upgrades. The proof of concept is you come to Texas, you leave better prepared for the NFL, especially underneath Steve Sarkisian. And he's earned that right. Top to bottom, every position has improved. Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, cornerback, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, all underneath Steve Sarkisian. Everyone is better prepared for the NFL. But now you've added in veteran studs to a roster of up-and-comers, only to fortify your chances of winning the SEC. Matthew Golden, reliable wide receiver on the outside, can play a little bit in the slot too. Silas Bolden, all Pac-12 return man, works special teams like no one's business that can turn a 2-yard gain into a 25-yard blast up the middle of the field. Isaiah Bond, 4th and 31, back of the end zone. Gotcha, bro. Quinn, don't worry about it. I'm your new Adonai Mitchell. And you brought in Amari Nyblack. And you brought in a couple of defensive players like Andrew Makuba and Trey Moore. Both superstars at their respective positions in high-profile conferences. UTSA was one of the best teams at the Group of 5 level for the last several years. Moore's been a big part of that. Same thing with Makuba. He's been great in the ACC. Wonder what he's going to do in the SEC. So everything that you know about this team, you think is going to be trending upward. There are going to be some questions with the defensive line. No more Devondre Sweat. No more Byron Murphy. You did bring in a kid from Arizona, so I like the moves being made, but you have the right coach. And as long as you have the right coach and you have a quarterback that's going into year 3 of understanding the offensive philosophies and the concept, you're in a really good spot. I think this is a very solidified team. I am not worried at all about Texas transitioning. In fact, I would be one of those teams that's like a Texas A&M, maybe a Missouri, maybe if you really want to throw a South Carolina into the mix at this point. Hey, Welcome to the SEC. Get out of my chair. I'm at the big boy table now. You go sit with the kids. That's the way the Texas thinks. That's the way Texas will be. Number 3, Oregon. And honestly, at this point, the top 3, you can make any list and I would understand it. But to me, the Ducks simply being the newcomers in the conference is the only reason why I put them here. They're that good. They are that good. I don't think enough people are paying attention to what Oregon can be in the Big Ten. They do not care about the size. They do not care about the speed. They do not care about the physicality. Oh, West Coast, Best Coast football? No, we're a Frankenstein monster of a roster. You don't want to face us on Saturdays. Offensive linemen built for the Big Ten, wide receivers built for the Pac-12, linebackers and running backs made for the SEC, a quarterback that comes from all across the country. You are well prepared, and you have a coach that also has a staff that understands what it takes to win. That's the big key here. Whether it be Will Stein as offensive coordinator, whether it be Dan Lanning calling the shots and running the show when it comes to the defense, whether it be just an assistant that joined Lanning's staff when he was in Athens as a graduate. Any one of those things, that's at your disposal at Oregon. They have a quarterback that's going to be very good. And in my opinion, he may even be exactly what you had with Bo Nix, just left-handed, Dylan Gabriel. You got a quarterback for the future in Dante Moore. You lose Trey Franklin, keep Tez Johnson, but Johnson got open because Franklin was open. Yeah, you still got that because now Evan Stewart from Texas A&M, a speed threat, human highlight reel track artist machine, is going to be on the outside. Still have Trayshawn Holden, still like your running back room in general, made some moves to the offensive line and defensive line. This is a team that is not messing around. They realize if we're top 3 in our conference, we're going to the playoff. And we were so close last year. Everyone said that we were the most fundamentally sound team on Saturdays, and we fell apart. One game kept us out of the playoff. We would have been in. They don't want to feel that way anymore. Dan Lanning is built in for the long run. He is basically Mike Bellotti 2.0. He ain't going anywhere. He's happy in Eugene. This feels like a job that he is made for. And with NIL and the transfer portal, it's very hard to say that a place like Oregon is not on the come up. They have great uniforms. Now they have great seasons. And great seasons lead to a great program. And a great program leads to national championships. Number 2, Lanning's former boss, Georgia. Kirby Smart's now the king of college football. Until proven otherwise, he is the king of college football. Now, I've been on record, done a video about this. I believe that there are going to be a multitude of people who can fight for the title of top head coach. Brian Kelly could be one. I think Steve Sarkisian could be one. I think Marcus Freeman's in the running too. Lane Kiffin, Mike Norvell, they're around. But it starts with Kirby. 2-time defending national champion, went on a 29-game win streak, and most of the same talents returning. Yeah, you don't have Brock Bowers. I don't really worry about that. You still have Dylan Bell. I don't really worry about what also you have in the loss of the running back room because you upgraded with the guy in Trevor Etienne. Carson Beck's going to be back another year to run this offense underneath Mike Bobo. And even though you didn't go out and you added in Caleb Downs, you still got an Alabama safety. And Jake Hope, he was no slum. He goes to Alabama. That means something. So now he's coming over and he's already had a relationship with T-Rob. And T-Rob knows what he can do. And now that's a pairing with Malachi Starks. Yes, you lose some players in the process like A.J. Harris, but you know what? It's Georgia. You're always going to lose players. You're never going to lose the mentality. Until proven otherwise, this is the team to beat in the SEC. They can right now, I would say, not punch their ticket because their schedule is a little bit more daunting than we want to give credit for, but they are a team that I think is going to be hell-bent on making it back to Atlanta. And if they get there, they're probably going to hoist up a national title. But number 1, if you watch any of my videos over the last month or so, you know who it is. It's Ohio State. Ohio State has to win the national championship this year, at least in my opinion. Right now, when you look at this team, they have to win a national title because of they are putting their money where their mouth is. They are not afraid to spend. They are not afraid to make these aggressive moves, and they're not afraid to go ahead and go outside the box simply just to fortify their roster. Bill O'Brien is now going to be your offensive coordinator. You did that on purpose. You know that, Ryan Day, right? Well, he better be proven results because if not, you're going to be shown the door. You went out and you added in Quentin Sean Junkins, number 1 running back in the transfer portal, arguably the best running back in college football. But running backs don't matter. That's what we're told. And if this is the new NFL, just like it is in college football, well, why pay a running back? Because you need to. Because you want to fortify your roster in any way you see fit. You want to be able to say to everybody, yeah, we are the best team in college football, that even our backups are getting paid a lot of money to be here. And more importantly, when they're on the field, they're being productive. And then you can just look at the returning talent. I haven't even gotten to Will Howard, and I won't really spend that much time. But let's just go ahead and just say it's an upgrade over Kyle McCord. And I think that adding in Julian Sang is an upgrade right now over Aaron Noland. But either way, We don't know what's going to happen there because they may battle it out and maybe Nolan leaves and he goes elsewhere. And that would be fine and understanding. Everyone would, I think, be on the same page with that. That's neither here nor there. But look at the returning talent. I've said on multiple occasions that if one of these players returned on both sides of the ball, Ohio State fans would be elated because there's veteranship. But Denzel Burke is back. Jack Sawyer's back. JT Tuimoloau is back. Jordan Hancock's back. Latham Rasam's back. Donovan Jackson's back. You also have Emeka Ibuka back. You have Travion Henderson back. You have literally everyone back, minus Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mike Hall. That's it. Everyone else is back. And you know what's even crazier than that? You're adding in more talent. Number 2 recruiting class in college football. Number 3 recruiting class in college football. Number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal. Number 1 player in the transfer portal and Caleb Downs. That's a difference maker for a 3 safety set defensively. Number 1 player on the recruiting trail this past year, Jeremiah Smith. And he's coming in with Carnell Tate and Emeka Ibuka and with a ton of other talent at wide receiver U. Yeah, you are facing the pressure. You have to face the pressure. This is too good of a roster when you look at it top to bottom, slantways, sideways, up, down, left, right, backspace, whatever you want to say. It's too good of a team to be viewed as somebody who is going to be on the outside looking in. They're going to be in the college football playoff. They're going to be a team that can win a national title. And more importantly, they're going to be a team that I think most people are sleeping on in terms of how good they might be. They are, in my opinion, the best team in college football, and they have to act like it. Because when you have this much talent and no room to gallop, there's only one person to blame. There's one finger pointed at somebody else for pointing right back at you, Ryan Day. But those are my top 10 teams or top 12 teams. See, this is the world of college football. It's going to be really hard to stay in line. Number 12 for me is Arizona. Number 11 for me is Utah. Number 10 is Penn State. Number 9, Notre Dame. Number 8, Missouri. Number 7, Alabama. Number 6, Michigan. Number 5, Ole Miss. Number 4, Texas. Number 3, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. And number 1, as listed below, it's easily going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes. One of those teams I think can win a national title. All of them can win a national title. One of them will. The question is, who comes out on top in early January? Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.